You're listening to the Geek Watch Podcast, episode 74, Countdown to Comic-Con 2019.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 74 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hi, Brian.
And so, news-wise, and we talked about this last week, because Comic-Con has started this week. In fact, since today is July 18th, 2019, today is the first day for Comic-Con. A lot of places have been playing their cards close to their chest. But there is some news we can talk about with the 50th anniversary of Comic-Con starting today.
Wow,
and
50 years.
50 years. So there is some things we can definitely talk about, but certainly next week we're going to have a lot of things to talk about. We can discuss what happened at Comic-Con and our opinions of them, but there are some things that we can definitely talk about today.
Oh, yeah. And before we move on, after listening to last week's podcast, I feel the need to explain to our listeners my newly acquired Carol Channing-esque lisp. Ladies and gentlemen, back when Mandy was a young 18-year-old, she had to wear braces. She had to have teeth pulled and get her teeth aligned correctly. And then, like so many 20-year-olds, didn't continue to wear her retainers as she was supposed to. So now I am 36 years old and I have, I'm now wearing, Invisalign retainers. So let this be a public, service announcement. Remember all of you who have been through orthodontia, wear your braces, periodically visit your orthodontist every couple of years, get them realigned, get them refitted, especially after you've had dental work, go back into it. Until then, you're going to get to listen to me, have fun with these S's.
Well, that's perfectly fine. I mean, honestly, most YouTube influencers and, of course, Billie Eilish wears the Invisaligns. And so basically you're just trendy at this point. You sound like an influencer at this point.
Nice.
So I'll have to get them. My teeth aren't crooked, but I might have to get them just so that, I can fit in with all the cool kids. So starting out, we had a bunch of trailers to come out this week.
Yeah.
Not all of them tied in necessarily to Comic-Con, but one that I saw first part of the week, it was a movie that I didn't know was coming out. Basically, it was a World War I film. Starting out, at least, you see all these fighting in World War I, and you see Ray Fiennes, and I'm like, oh, this looks like this is interesting. And the name of the movie was The Kingsman, and I'm like, oh, well, that's an unfortunate title because people gonna think it's Kingsmen,
Yeah.
It's called The Kingsman. And I'm like, oh, people are going to think it's tied into Kingsman. But then the more I watched it, then I realized it is tied to the Kingsman.
Is it a prequel?
It's a prequel to the Kingsman. I had heard rumors that they were planning on doing something like this. I didn't realize there was any filming being done. No. So this is where the Kingsmen come from. This World War I, and it's basically the formation of this organization, where it came from. So it's an origin story for the Kingsmen. And I had no idea. It caught me. It caught me unawares. But like I said, at the beginning, I'm like, oh, they're calling it the Kingsman.
Yeah, well, that's really exciting. I guess maybe they were able to cover it up because we know that Kingsman 3 is in the works.
Right.
So the sequel, maybe it was all camouflage to bring this big surprise on everyone.
Well, there you go. And Ray Fiennes is going to be, I guess, sort of the mentor of this film, and a great choice. The film looks amazing. Of course, I'm a big Kingsman fan, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what this movie when it comes out. Definitely, another film, a sci-fi film that's coming out that today they dropped a second trailer for, was Ad Astra. Have you heard about this one? It's a Brad Pitt film. He's an astronaut. The movie also has Liv Tyler, Ruth Negga, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland. Basically,
what a cast!
Yeah.
Man.
So basically, Brad Pitt, he's an astronaut in a near future Earth, and some weird things are happening. They don't give away a lot in the trailer. Thank goodness for that. But apparently, what's going on is Brad Pitt's father, played by Tommy Lee Jones, he disappeared. He was an astronaut. He disappeared into space, and they assumed him to be dead. But apparently, he's not dead. He's been in hiding, and he's been in hiding for a reason. And so it's Brad Pitt's job, his mission, to find his father and bring him back to Earth and find out. And there's some sort of possibly nefarious thing going on.
Okay, so have we colonized other planets?
Well, apparently,
where is he hiding? Or where do we think he's hiding?
Well, apparently he was testing, his father was testing a drive that would allow faster than light travel. And so something happened to the rocket supposedly, and he died, but apparently that's not what happened. They seem to have moon colonies. They definitely have more satellites that astronauts are living on. In fact, he was working on an astronaut on one of these satellites, and there was an explosion, and he gets knocked off the satellite and plummets to Earth. Fortunately, he had a parachute, but he got majorly injured apparently, and that's from the trailer. Now, what exactly is going on? What is the nefarious? Whether Tommy Lee Jones is the nefarious side of this, or the world government is the nefarious side, and he's working against them. Well, I mean, they don't really say in the trailer, which I find wonderfully refreshing, because usually trailers give away way too much, and these ones certainly doesn't seem to be doing that. So I love me some good sci-fi, and it looks like this is going to definitely be there. We also saw a trailer this week for the new Rob Zombie horror movie. The third, I guess, is going to be of a trilogy, Three from Hell.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
And so apparently the Devil's Rejects survived the gunning down that we thought had killed them at the end of the second movie. So apparently they managed to survive. And so as far as the movie itself, like I said, I mean, there's been a lot of mixed reviews on these films. I think the second one was definitely better than the first one, although I and a lot of other people weren't really that cool with Rob Zombie trying to make the Devil's Rejects sympathetic. They're pretty messed up people, and how do you make them sympathetic? But we're getting this third film, and from what I understand, Fathom Events is going to be releasing the movie first, and then I guess it's going to get a limited release after that, perhaps. I know Fathom Events released 31, which was Rob Zombie's last film, so I guess they're going to do the same thing with this film. And so, I mean, at least for completeness sake, I'm definitely going to go see it. I mean, especially with some of the horror movies that I've seen recently, the bar has really been raised in the horror genre, definitely. And certainly Midsommar is the latest in those films. Us, of course, this year also. Fantastic horror movies, really deep horror movies have been coming out. So for Rob Zombie to impress me this year, he's got a long road to walk, because there's been some really good stuff that's come out, but we'll definitely give it a chance. But speaking of horror movies, it dropped today, the Comic-Con trailer for It Chapter 2.
Oh, yeah.
The main trailer, and wow.
Yep.
So I'm guessing you definitely got a chance to see that. What'd you think?
I was so glad that, we get to see everyone now and see what they've been up to, and that they're really bringing in that part where they've forgotten, when you leave this town, you forget. And so it's really how much, them coming back to the town, and they're going to have to, and getting that little bit of human Pennywise, just that little sneak hint of him as a human. That's unsettling. So I'm really interested to see where they're going with that and what we are going to see from him.
Oh, yeah. Well, something they've already talked about is that we're going to be getting some stuff from the book that we didn't get in the miniseries, the television miniseries. And it does look like they've really developed the second part of the story with the adults. And we talked about this before. I mean, the weakest part of the book is the adults. And what happens with the adults. Not to say it was bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly wasn't as interesting as the first part with the kids, with the Losers Club. And it looks like they've really developed the story, at least from what I've seen in the trailer, that the second one is going to be phenomenal. And a lot of people have already said that you think Pennywise was scary in the first one. The second one, he is horrendous.
Wow, that's going to be something.
Yeah, and I may have to go see that in IMAX. Of course, what we talked about before, I watched the first part of it in IMAX 3D, which I wouldn't recommend anyone to do. Pennywise is bad enough, but when he's 40 feet tall and dancing in your lap, that's not that is not cool at all. But the last trailer that dropped today, because they had a panel already, was the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yes.
So
that has more stars in it than the Lego movie. It's got so many people in it.
Oh yeah, well, because of the fact that Kevin Smith he's doing a lot of the television for DC, a lot of the CW shows. He's been directing a lot of those shows, and so he's been meeting up with a lot of people. And of course, Marvel loves him.
Right.
And he's been doing a lot of stuff with Marvel, so he's been able to, Chris Hemsworth is going to be in the movie, which is amazing. Here's the funny thing, though, and I'll bring this up, is since we talked about the CW, Supergirl herself, Melissa Benoist, is going to be in the movie. And the role she's playing is funny because, of course, this whole thing it's basically a reboot of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It's sort of like they're rebooting that movie, and they're having to once again go to Hollywood and stop this movie from happening, which is a reboot of this movie they had to stop, from happening. Yeah. Exactly. And the thing about it is Melissa plays, and I don't know if she's going to be playing herself. I'm assuming that she is, but she is going to be in the movie, the Jay and Silent Bob reboot movie, as Chronic. Of course, the movie's Blunt Man and Chronic. She's going to be playing Chronic, the Jay Mewes role, or in this case, the Jason Mewes, Jay. And so basically, like in Hollywood, you have some gender switching sometimes. So they're gender switching Chronic. So instead of it being Jay, based off of Jay,
right, with James Van Der Beek playing Blunt
exactly.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. So Chronic is going to be played by a female. And so I'm sure that there's going to be complaints, or at least in the movie, that, they're going to reference fans being upset that they have gender switched Chronic.
That's such satire. That's beautiful.
So
that is satire.
So the trailer that dropped was a Red Band trailer, and it was hilarious. Of course, I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in this film.
I love his willingness to make fun of himself.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Even they say in the trailer, it's like, who's directing this movie? Kevin Smith? Come on. And it's quite funny.
Oh, yeah. Well, since we mentioned the Melissa Benoist thing, and this was something that you mentioned online, you had posted this on Facebook, Captain Marvel star Lashana Lynch is going to be playing 007.
Yes, she is.
She's not be playing James Bond, but she's going to be in the movie, the 25th James Bond movie. James Bond, played by Daniel Craig, will have retired, and so they've given the number to a new agent.
Right.
And he's going to wind up coming back. He's going to come back out of retirement, and will have to work with the new 007. And what made me happy about all of this is the fact that nobody got upset about it. No one at all. No one got
whining.
No one's complaining about it.
Not her gender, not her race, nothing.
No, not at all. No.
It was no Little Mermaid scandal.
No, absolutely not. Nobody had anything to say about it. We didn't have that. You got your chocolate in my peanut butter moments. None of this happened, and that's the world I choose to live in, and that's it. Oh boy. So that happened. But let's talk a little bit about the stuff that's already happened. I'm sure some news is dropping even as we speak, and of course we'll talk about that next week. But here's the stuff that's already happened in Comic-Con and Hall H. They had their Terminator Dark Fate panel.
Right.
Happened already.
Big news on that.
Oh yeah. James Cameron, he wasn't there, but they had a teleconference with him in Hall H from the set of Avatar 2. So he's already filming Avatar 2.
No, I was talking about Edward Furlong returning.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Edward Furlong is returning as
John
Connor. So this movie is going to be a nice reunion of Terminator 2. So they're bringing him back in as John Connor. So if you could, I can
imagine, like, what training he's going to be going through and, bring him up to par from, what we've seen in his prior films where he's been very, very slight, very slim.
Right.
Because those are the parts that he was doing,
right.
Kind of men down on their luck or that sort of, the sort of part. So to see him, how he's going to be transformed to play this great military leader, as he said in 1991.
Right. I figure they're going to wind up doing what they do with a lot of actors who are taking on superhero-like roles. They're going to send them to the gym, and they're going to... But, so a little more excitement for sure. Now, of course, the thing about this year's Comic-Con is, of course, it's going to be a great place to announce new things that are coming up. But Comic-Con is also a place where we celebrate that which is going away. And so they are doing their final Supernatural panel this year.
And they started filming today. The very last season. Jensen Ackles, star of Supernatural, is directing this first episode. So they are working on it as we speak.
Yep.
Up in Canada.
Yep. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interesting things on that panel. And of course, that'll be their last Comic-Con panel ever. Game of Thrones is doing their last panel. And some news came, and I think it's going to be on Saturday, but some news, I was following that, and I thought, when I heard, that David Benioff and D.B. Weiss was going to be there, the showrunners, I thought, that takes some guts. I got to appreciate that, because they know that there were some people who had problems with their finale. And I have to say, I was proud to hear that they were going to do this because of the fact that, it's like, you're going to be in a room full, a huge room full of people who most of them probably didn't like how you ended this series, and you're going to be in that room with them. That takes guts, and I appreciated that. And then the news dropped today that Benioff and Weiss, they're going to make like fabric softener and bounce. They canceled their appearance.
Oh.
I think they realized, wait a minute, we're going into a big room of people, full of people that most of them didn't like what we did. So they canceled. They flat out canceled. I'm trying to remember, there was two actors, Ian Glenn and Nathalie Emmanuel, and then director Miguel Sapronic, I think it was his name. They dropped also. They decided they weren't going to show up either. So I don't know what's going to happen for this panel. This was is going to be a celebration of Game of Thrones. Well, I guess we'll find out what happens.
Well, maybe Gwen can show up and she can talk about how HBO did not submit her for an Emmy, so she submitted herself and got a nomination. Love that.
Oh, yeah.
Love that.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you.
Hey, sisters doing it for themselves, So I wonder what's going to happen with this panel, especially when the showrunners are like, I'm out. I'm done. No, forget it. We're not going to do this. But one thing certainly we can is... And this surprised the heck out of me. I didn't know Marvel was going to do Hall H this year, but they are. And because normally, of course, when we talked about this before, D23 is where they usually save all their big stuff. And that's end of August. So, it's only a month away. But they decided, we are going to do Hall H this year. And Star Wars is going to be doing Hall H this year. So there's going to be some Marvel news. There's going to be some Star Wars news. They really want to kick things up because they don't want to wait until August.
Now, where was Top Gun? Because they dropped their trailer today at Comic-Con. So I don't know if they were Hall H or what
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But we didn't even mention the
Top Gun trailer.
The Top Gun trailer. So that happened too. And so, but I'm wondering what Marvel's got to say, because they're kind of in this situation where, if they're doing Hall H, they want to drop some bombshells. Otherwise, there's no reason to do it. But their own convention, D23, you don't want to knock the wind out of the sails for that. So what are they going to do? And what's Star Wars going to do? I don't know, because that's kind of a weird situation to be put in. We have gotten some news, though, already ahead of the Hall H panel. One is that Taika Waititi is going to be directing Thor 4. As Guardians of the Galaxy, or do we know if that's what we're getting or not? Well, there's been some talk that with all the talk with Guardians of the next Guardians of the Galaxy and James Gunn, he said it's not going to be as Guardians of the Galaxy. So maybe Thor will be that, where we'll see some of the Guardians of the Galaxy in there. Certainly Rocket, I would think, he would have to. The universe's most distinguished trash panda might make an appearance in the new Thor, but maybe we'll find out more about that in the panel. Something else that was just announced is, I guess, the season 7 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Is going to be their last season. So this is going to be it. So if you haven't watched any of it yet, if you're the person who likes to binge watch like yours truly, after season 7, feel free. So I guess they're moving everything off of ABC at this point because of, Disney Plus and all that. And so I guess all their television is going to really be on Disney Plus at this point because, of course, the Netflix stuff is gone. They've come to the end of all that. This is the last of the ABC shows. And, of course, that's ending with season 7. So that's going to be it. So I guess as far as the TV side of Marvel, Disney Plus is going to be a place to go. So basically, like I said, next week we'll have a lot more to talk about. But as far as what we might see in Comic-Con this year and what's going to be announced, there's a lot of stuff that they've announced. We're going to see previews for the new Shudder series, Creepshow. Yeah. They're going to be talking about that. We're going to be hearing more about Rick and Morty in the next season that's coming out. So television and movies and all that. I got to tell you, with everything that's going on with Disney Plus and with DC's streaming service and all that, there's got to be some bombshells dropped. I mean, they're definitely with Star Wars, with Marvel, with DC. This is the time to really get people excited about what you got coming out, because there's a bunch of stuff coming out, definitely. I mean, with the new streaming services, there's more than one streaming service. The DC streaming service, and we've talked about how shaky certain things have been, like,
losing Swamp Thing
before they even really aired the pilot. Mm-hmm. But they're really, from what I understand, they're going to be promoting Swamp Thing huge at Comic-Con. So do they drop the bombshell that, hey, we changed our mind because it's doing really well and we decided we're going to bring it back? Or I don't know.
Maybe they pull the new Coke.
That's certainly a possibility, but yeah, especially this year with, and in DC, and Warner Brothers, they've had some successes. Obviously, they're going to want to promote Wonder Woman in a huge way because they are definitely doing course corrections with this DC cinematic universe and how they're going to get excitement going again for it. Although, let's face it, Aquaman did really well. Shazam did really well. And so there's some life left in... Well,
I don't know who's doing it, but Pennyworth. That looks amazing.
Oh yeah, that looks
amazing.
That's on DC streaming service.
Is it? Okay, yeah, that looks awesome.
But I gotta tell you, I don't currently have the DC streaming service, but a lot of the shows I've been hearing about they've been amazing. I have seen episode 1 of Doom Patrol because they put it out free on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
I thought it was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was really good, and so, I might have to break down and start getting into some of this stuff. And of course, we're going to have a panel on Picard, the new CBS show. And there's a lot of stuff, but yeah, they're going to need a lot of different places. I think they should come with some really serious, amazing news to blow our minds, And is there anything in particular on Comic-Con you're looking forward to, or you hope you hear from? Or?
I'm just, I'm waiting on what they have to tell us. So, like seeing the Jay and Silent Bob thing today and seeing Top Gun. So right now I'm just anxiously waiting whatever they're willing to share.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it out.
Well, definitely next week, episode 75, we'll be hitting that milestone, and we will definitely have a lot to talk about next week, for sure. And with that said, we come to the end of episode 74 of the Geek Watch podcast. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.